A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin ya rabbal alameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Today inshallah we are going to finally start the topic of Arab. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Okay, so far we know what harakat are. We have also covered the topic of tanween, and one of the points in tanween that we studied was that the tanween indicates Arab. Alright, so what Arab are? Simple as that. They are simply three different structural forms, each form signifying a different aspect. Okay, let me elaborate on it. Three different structural forms, and we're going to see many examples on it in the next slide. Okay, three different structural forms. What are they? Rafa, nasb, jarr. Okay, and the things that they signify have been elaborated, or rather enumerated over here. Okay, let's cover each of them individually. Three different structural forms. What are they? Rafa. Now, when is an ism going to be in rafa state or rafa form? First of all, it's going to be in rafa form if, number one, it is in its default state. For example, if a word just exists on its own, for example. All right, so let's just take the example of our alphabets. Okay, our first alphabet is alifun. All right, it's actually alifun, but since it's a common practice to put a sukoon on the end, on the last letter, that's why we are more familiar with it as alif. Okay, and but its actual name is alifun. Okay, similarly ba'un, ta'un, jimun, lamun, nunun, mimun. All right, so that's what. So anything that just exists on its own, it hasn't been subjected to any grammatical rule or anything, that ism exists in its rafa form. Similarly, we have, for example, the word kitabun, qalamun, baytun, rasulun. All right, so all of these are the default states of an ism, and they're always going to be rafa. Now, another word for, or another terminology for rafa, a rafa form of rafa asma is marfu asma. All right, marfu. What is marfu? It simply signifies that an ism that has been made rafa. That is it. All right, so you may encounter this word, this terminology, marfu ism, marfu'un. All right. The next reason or scenario where an ism may be in rafa form is when it is a mubtada. What's a mubtada? Mubtada is the word with which a sentence, a simple sentence or any sentence starts. For example, it is raining. All right, so it is your mubtada. Okay, similarly, I am driving, then it is mubtada. Okay, so similarly, this is a cat, this is your mubtada. Okay, so any ism which is existing as a mubtada is going to be in rafa form. Next, if an ism is fa'il, what is a fa'il? It is the doer of an action. Okay, then it is also going to exist as rafa. Okay, and I'm going to present examples of each of these situations in the next lesson, inshallah. Okay, so you don't need to worry if you don't see any examples or written material over here on the slide. I'm going to discuss each of these examples in the next lesson, inshallah. Okay, and after file, if there is a passive voice, what's the passive voice? For example, the active voice is he helped a boy, for example. And if I were to make it passive, then I would say the boy was helped by him. Okay, so this was your passive voice. In Arabic, what happens is that the maf'ul becomes rafa if it is used in passive voice. Okay, again, this is already. This is going to be discussed in the next lesson with examples, all right? So don't worry about it, okay? But just remember the 4 aspects which are going to cause an ism to be in rafa form. First, default state of an ism, it's a mubtada, it's a fa'il, or it is a maf'ul used in passive voice. All right? All right, next is our nasab. What's nasab? Nasab is a very vast topic, okay? Now, there are about 21 reasons for an ism to be in nasab form. But for the beginners lessons, we are going to discuss the important 11 ones, all right? And this common one, okay? So let's say I say a simple sentence. I read a book, or simply I read it. All right, now the person wants to know if I tell you that why I read the book, when I read it, how many books did I read, how did I read it, as in how did I read it carefully, or did I just flipped through the pages, or when did I read it. All right, so all these extra details about any ism, about any fail, that is always going to be nasab form. All right, so for example, the child smiled sweetly, okay? Then sweetly, that is your adverb. All right, and adverb is always in nasab form, okay? Or he walked lazily. Lazily is always going to be in nasab form. What's the uh, Arabic word for lazy? That is kasulan. All right, notice how I said kasulan, all right, and not lun or lin. Okay, so that's what your details are in nasab form. Okay, what's next? There are 11 other scenarios about it, okay, and we are going to discuss these 11 scenarios as we progress through the course, inshallah. Okay, at this moment, just remember this detail point, okay, that for example, if I say that I ate an ice cream, why did I eat it, when did I eat it, how did I eat it, all right, how many of them, how many of those did I eat, all right? So all those extra details are in nasab form. That is it. Next, we have jarr. Now, there are only 2 reasons for an ism to be in jarr. First of all, it is immediately following a preposition, all right? For example, in this word, in this phrase, fi kitabin, notice how there is a tanween here, and fi is a preposition, okay? And the second reason for it to be in jarr form is that it is a muzaf ilayh. Now this is a big word, but muzaf ilayh is simply the possessor, an ism that possesses something. Okay, I have very recently uploaded a lesson about muzaf ilayh on Facebook as well as on YouTube, so if you want, you can watch that detailed lesson already. Okay, it wouldn't really make any difference, okay, because you know the basic things already, the basic things, okay? So kitabu zaidin, for example, okay, I'll post a link in the description box and you can get it from there, inshallah. Anyways, so if it is a muzaf ilayh of any ism, then of course it's going to be in jarr form, and these are the only 2 conditions for an ism to be in jarr form. All right, so this was your jarr, okay, fi kitabin and kitabu zaidin. All right, so the word zaid is zaidin here, which is jar, okay? And here, of course, this is, since it is being followed by, since it is following the preposition of fi, it is in jar form. All right, so I hope this was clear. Let's move on to the next thing. Now, every ism is either going to be nasab, rafa, or jar, okay, and there isn't any other possibility, only these 3 i'rab. These rafa, nasab, jar are the i'rab, okay? And how do we tell these 3 i'rab apart? There are a number of ways. The first one is via tanween. That's what I said in the last lesson, that tanween indicates i'rab, all right? And we are going to learn right now how it does that. Then next there is another way that we can tell these i'rab apart from the specific suffix combos. Okay, and we're going to see how these, we're going to touch on it very briefly. And then via context. And this method is used in these, in the mabni asma, in the ghair munsarif asma, and the suffixed munsarif asma. We are going to discuss these in detail in a couple of lessons, after a couple of lessons, inshallah. Okay, but just for the sake of completion, I added this point here. Okay, all right. So via tanween and via suffix combos, these two are going to be our major focus for the next few lessons, inshallah. Okay, let's see how tanween helps us in determining the i'rab of an ism. Okay, so first of all, we know that there are three Arabic forms, all right, rafa, nasab, and jar, and we know what tanween is. It's a double harkat, this, and this, an, in sounds. Okay, now the tanween which indicates the rafa form is okay, the tanween that determines the nasab form is an, and jar is determined by in sound. So if you hear the ending sound, that is a marfu ism. If you hear an ending an sound, that is mansub ism, or nasab, an ism in nasab form. Okay, and if you hear the ending in sound, that is your ism in jar form, or simply majrur ism. Okay, now the word muslimatan ends in unsound, so it is automatically your nasab form. So okay, so you have just determined the i'rab of the word muslimatan. All right, now why is it in nasab form and why not in jar or any other form? That is something that we are going to learn in various lessons. All right, and that is what Arabic lesson is all about. Next, shajaratin, ending in sound, so it is jar. Qalamun, ending sound, so it is rafa. All right, now you can practice these things, and we are going to do that in the next slide, inshallah. Okay, so rafa, nasab, jar. Is rafa, an is nasab, in is jar. Okay, all right, now just a very brief comment about the suffix combos and the context in munsarif asma. What happens? There are a couple of suffixes that we are going to study individually. Okay, and they uh, are different from each other. All right, so as you can see, all the rafa forms are different from the nasab and jar forms, but all the nasab and jar forms are similar to each other. All right, so we have the suffix of ani for rafa and aini for nasab and jar. Similarly, ina for nasab and jar, but una for rafa. Ataini for nasab and jar, all right, but atani for rafa. All right, similarly, atin for nasab and jar, and rafa is atun. Okay, so we're going to study all these suffixes, inshallah, in detail, and we are going to explore the dynamics that revolve around these suffixes. Okay, all right, let's just study a couple of examples. Muslimatan, it's via tanween, and this is nasab. Qalamani, now the suffix is ani. All right, where is ani? Here it is, so it is rafa. Muminatin, here we have atin. Now it is either going to be nasab or jar. Then jannataini, taini, here it is, ataini. All right, so it is either going to be nasab or jar. Okay, I hope this was clear as well. We are going to touch on this in great detail. Okay, so you don't need to worry about practicing those. And now finally, let's just do a couple of examples and then we are good to go. Okay, rafa, nasab, jar, the three i'rabi form, and what we are going to do, we are going to sort these asma according to their i'rab with the help of tanween. Okay, so let's start. Muslimatan, this is nasab. Shajaratin, jar. Qalamun, rafa. Yadun, rafa again. Mu'minun, rafa. Rasulin, jar. Jannatan, nasab, and awladun, rafa. All right, so well, these were our rafa, nasab, and jar, and the basic concept that revolves around these two. three. All right, these three are up. So I hope that the basic concept and the basic overview of these three Arab and their different aspects, all right, they are clear now, inshallah. And in the next lesson we are going to study, or rather we are going to explore these four situations where an object, where an ism is going to be in rafa form. All right, so till that time, practice making the rafa, nasab and jar forms of various asma, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Allah Hafiz.